Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. Today I'm going to be doing a review of the new movie Shelby Oaks. I'm hoping to get this video up as quick as I can, but hopefully I can. Hopefully I have time to edit it and get it up before Friday. Today is Monday. We'll see. I literally watched this movie last night and I'm so excited to talk about it. A little tiny bit of backstory. If you watched my video reacting to the trailer of this movie, you know the backstory of the director and who he is and all that fun stuff. So just a smidgen of backstory in case you didn't watch that video. The writer and director of this movie is actually a YouTuber named Chris Stuckman. I kind of discovered Chris Stuckman like over 10 years ago. I stumbled upon his videos and I just love his content. I think he does really good videos. He's actually kind of inspired my reviews because I really like how short and sweet his videos are. Like he'll do a review and it'll be like 6 minutes long, and I think that's perfect. I've definitely overdone my videos. Like I think my review of Inside Out 2 is over 30 minutes long, which is ridiculous. But I really liked his videos. I like how short and sweet they are. Anyway, so he wrote and directed this movie. I actually donated to his Kickstarter and we got our poster yesterday that was exclusive to people who did donate to the Kickstarter, and I found my name on it. I was very excited about that. Sam and I had the chance to go see it in theaters yesterday, and here's what I thought. To be completely honest, the more I've thought about this movie and the more I reflect on certain things that happened, and then specifically the ending and how this movie ended, I actually like it a lot more. One thing I really liked about it that I feel like people may or may not like, I loved how fast paced this movie was. It was only like an hour and a half long. It was not long at all. It was not like a long movie at all. And I liked that. And it was because it was so short, every moment of the movie, something was happening. There was very little drag to this movie. Things were constantly happening, and I loved that. Every moment of this movie was plot and information, and it just made the movie fly, and I loved it. I'm sure there's people who may disagree with me that they didn't like that, but I love that as someone who almost fell asleep during Oppenheimer because that movie drug on so much. I loved this movie. I loved how fast it was. I loved how things just were constantly happening and things were constantly going. Anyway, the story of this movie is 12 years ago, a girl named Riley Brennan went missing. She actually had a little YouTube channel investigating paranormal things with her friends. And the way the movie starts, it starts as a documentary. They're talking to Riley's sister Mia, and I liked that style. I liked that it gave us all the information we needed right off the bat. Some people may say it was a info dump. It definitely was, but I kind of liked it. I thought it was a very different way to start a movie and be able to info dump everything onto us, because there's a lot of info. We learn all about Riley and a lot about her past. We learn about her career as this paranormal YouTube investigator. We learn about her friends that were also part of this channel, and we learn that we know what happened to them, but we still don't know what happened to Riley. And the movie starts out with a literal bang, because as they're wrapping up the documentary filming, it jumps into the actual movie that isn't documentary style. And I don't know, I thought it was really interesting the way that they did all of this, and I really liked it. Like I said, every single moment of this movie, something was happening. There's no place anywhere in this movie you could have taken a bathroom break, because something is happening all the time. With Mike Flanagan being also a part of this project, it was very evident to me that there was constantly things in the background, and I love that. If you've watched Haunting of Hill House, you know that in pretty much every scene, something is in the background. It's one of those things where it's like you're watching this show, but also you kind of want to look in the background to see all the ghosties. So because Mike Flanagan was a part of this project, I found myself constantly looking in the background for things. Sometimes there were things that I was like, was that actually something? Which also happened a lot watching Hill House. There's constantly times where I was like, wait, was that something? Wait, was that something? And things are addressed and things aren't addressed. But the things that aren't addressed aren't important enough that it bothered me that they didn't get addressed, if that makes sense. And with that being said, things getting addressed, I loved how this movie ended because there's one point in this movie where I thought it was ending, and if it had ended there, I would have been very disappointed. But the way it actually ended, I loved it because my personal biggest problems with horror movies and supernatural things is I personally don't like when things are left to be like interpreted. There were definitely things in this movie, and I'll get to that when I talk about some spoilers, but there were definitely some things in this movie that I feel like when Sam and I were driving home, we were questioning certain things, but it didn't overall affect the main plot of the movie. And for the majority, the like main focus was all wrapped up really, I wouldn't say nicely, but wrapped up in a plot filling way. Some of my personal criticisms of other horror movies is it's my own personal opinion. Some people love this, but I don't love when things aren't wrapped up. Some movies, for example, are like Hereditary and Longlegs. I do enjoy those movies, but I don't like that there's so much that goes unanswered, specifically in Longlegs. I do still like that movie, but there was just so much of this movie. And the director straight up said that he didn't wrap it up in a little bow because he didn't want that. And that's his choice. And like I said, I'm sure there's tons of people out there who enjoy that sort of thing. But I loved that this movie wrapped up, had a pretty little bow on top. And yes, there was still things that we can question leaving the movie, but for the most part, and again, I will get more into this when I get into spoilers, so it makes a little bit more sense what I'm saying, but I just liked that for the main plot, the main focus of this movie was wrapped up and we got the answers we needed. My main criticism I do have of this movie was, and this was something I heard from a lot of people, was just the writing was a little off, I would say. Like there were certain scenes and there were certain like back and forth between characters that just felt very, I don't know, like unauthentic and like staged almost. I felt there's one scene in particular, again, like there was the beginning and the end of the movie do like kind of like a documentary style. So it wasn't the documentary style where they're sitting and interviewing. It was like when we're in the real movie and like real life things are going on. Certain conversations that the characters have just felt very almost forced and it didn't feel real, in my opinion. Just the way they were saying things, like it was like, I feel like that's not what people would actually say in this situation. It was very weird and I didn't love that. It wasn't really enough to take me out of the story or out of it or anything like that. That's just the one real criticism I have of this movie, but I actually just like really enjoyed a lot of this movie. The cinematography was absolutely incredible. The acting was so good. I did like the overall story. As I said, I loved that it all got wrapped up. And like I said, I actually did really enjoy the way they did info dump on us. Like I said, I'm sure other people may disagree with me there and say it's not good that they did this info dump strategy. I thought it was good. I thought it was a great way to, like I said, get the movie going. And like I said, just keep things a rolling. And that's one of the main things about this movie that I loved, was just how things were constantly going and you were immediately sucked into this movie because of the way it started. And I loved it. I am going to get into some spoilers now, but before we get into spoilers, for anyone who doesn't want this movie spoiled or anything, who does plan on possibly going to see it, I will just say, for a debut movie, this is incredible. And like I said when I filmed my trailer reaction, I'm just so proud of you, Chris. I can't believe you went from just like little YouTuber, I think you even said filming on a little tiny camera in your old bedroom reviewing movies, and now you are a writer and a director working along Mike Flanagan and Neon Productions of all things. Like, that's incredible. I'm so proud of you. I hope you do know I did very genuinely like this movie. I had a feeling I would like this movie going into it because he does like a lot of the same horror movies I like. Although we have differences on certain movies, a lot of his horror movies that he's reviewed, him and I actually have a lot of similar opinions on them. So I did feel like I was going to really like this movie going in. And honestly, like, one of the only things I was worried about was it was going to end off with a lot of questions. I thought it was going to drag on because he does also like those kinds of movies, but it didn't. And I love that. I love that it was so fast paced, and I loved that everything was answered in the end. So if you have a chance to go see this movie, please go check it out, especially if you have a chance to see it in theaters. We got to support films like this. Like, the fact that this even got a theater release is incredible on its own. And I literally thought I was just going to be sitting here, possibly waiting and hoping a like random theater in my city would do like a single one night show of this movie that I could potentially see in theaters. Like I said, I did back up the Kickstarter. And so with the donation I made, I got the poster, and I do get a DVD when they are released. So I was like, well, at least I'll get a DVD. At least I'll be able to see it eventually. But the fact that this did get a pretty widespread theater release is amazing. So if you have the chance and you have the capability to go see this in theaters, I know it would mean so much to Chris if you went to see it, because he's like me in the sense that I think going to see movies in theaters is very, very important. If we want the world to continue making great movies, we need to support them. So if you have the chance, go see it in theaters. I hope you enjoy it. I think it'll be worth your time. I really enjoyed this movie. Anyway, with that being said, I am going to jump into some spoilers right now. So if you don't want to be spoiled, thank you for watching, and I'll see you next week. But let's dive into the spoilers. So one thing that was leaving me very, very confused throughout the movie that was eventually answered was when Mia was doing research and read things about like hellhounds, and then she actually sees hellhounds in the film, but they never attack her. And there's even one point, Sam pointed this out to me, and I didn't even think of it until after he said it, but there is one moment where it seems like a hellhound is going to attack her, and then the main demon of the movie, who I think is Taryn, you don't see the demon, but you see it grab the hellhound by its like scruff and hold it back. Then there's even a scene where the hellhound literally leads Mia to where Riley is. Up until literally the very end of this movie, I was so confused because I was like, why would the hellhounds be nice to her? Like, why would they not attack her? Why would they lead her to Riley? And why would Taryn hold back the one hellhound that was potentially about to attack? It's all revealed in the end. Mia has believed her entire life that this Taryn has attached itself to Riley, and that's why it took her. And it's not until the very end of the movie where, after we learn that Riley unwillingly had a child with a man who was also possessed by this Taryn demon, essentially, we kind of learn that Taryn actually, although yes, did attach itself to Riley, also essentially attached itself and was protecting and taking care of Mia as well, knowing that Mia wanted a baby so bad that in the very end she was willing to kill her own sister after losing her for 12 years. She was willing to kill her own sister to protect a baby, even though this baby is essentially half demon. If that doesn't make any sense, let me explain a little bit. As I said, the hellhound leads Mia to where Riley is being kept. She's been kept by this old woman who we learn is the mother of the man who essentially abducted Riley 12 years ago. Over all these years, he has been forcing himself upon Riley to get her pregnant to basically produce an offspring for Taryn to possess. It is kind of confirmed that Taryn also possessed this man, and then something happens to this man right at the beginning of the film. I think the reasoning that this man died the way he did at the very beginning of the movie was because Taryn found his new host, which was the baby. Mia finds Riley in this house where this older woman lives who was the mother of the man. And Mia stumbles upon her basically performing some sort of ritual to the baby, almost insinuating that Taryn is possessing this baby. We learn at the very beginning of this movie that Mia and her husband tried to have children and they were never successful. And this is something that Sam and I questioned after the movie, that this doesn't essentially get answered. This doesn't necessarily matter to the plot. But one thing I had questioned was, since Taryn kind of attached itself to Mia over all of these years, was it Taryn keeping her from getting pregnant so that when this happened, Mia would feel instantly a bond and a connection to this baby and feel very possessive over it because she wanted a baby herself that she never had. So that was one question I brought up after the movie kind of wrapped. Obviously, Riley wants nothing to do with this baby. She's been through so much trauma over the last 12 years, and trigger warning, you do see Riley attempt to kill the baby. But now again, because Taryn has attached itself to Mia and Mia has become attached to this baby, while protecting the baby from Riley, Mia pushes Riley out of a window, and Riley does survive, but then Taryn sicks his hellhounds on her, killing her, which was interesting because, again, throughout the whole movie, we saw these hellhounds, but they never attacked Mia, and they were very quick to go and attack Riley. And then we learn, yes, Taryn did probably attach himself to Riley to have this baby, but he's also attached himself to Mia, essentially to raise this child as the old woman raised the man who then eventually did the things to Riley to make a new spawn, essentially. It was such a wicked ending. I loved it. I hope I'm explaining it well. I hope I'm interpreting it well, but that was like my interpretation of it. I really enjoyed this movie. I gave it 7 out of 10. Like I said, the writing was a little off at certain times, but overall I did still really, really enjoy it. And yeah, go check it out. That is my review of Shelby Oaks. I really liked it. I can't wait to have a DVD copy. I'm hoping that we get some sort of backer exclusive copy of the DVD, and then you know me, I'm still going to go out and buy the regular DVD if they are different. This is me doing what I can to support the art of filmmaking, which is my favorite kind of art. Anyway, that's going to be it for now. Thank you guys so much for watching this video. If you liked it, I would love it if you would like and subscribe. I post new videos every single Friday, and I'd love to have you here. Thanks for watching. Talk to you later. Bye, everybody.